Welcome. I'm Sebastian Mahfood, and you're listening to WCAT Radio, the on-air wing of En Route Books and Media, bringing you the dulcet sounds of Catholic wisdom.
Good afternoon, and welcome to WCAT Radio and this edition of Inter Vitam et Mortem, Between Life and Death, interviews and discussion with a Catholic bioethicist. I am your host, Dr. Marianne Urlakis. I am a classically trained and degreed bioethicist, and today I have with me a very special guest, Miss Carla Del Santo. We're going to talk about adult caregiving. Before we launch into today's show, let's first begin, as we always do, with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Dear God, our Heavenly Creator, you are the author of life and of truth, the reality that you will each and every human person into being, created from the moment of conception, bearing the dignity and imprint of your own image and likeness within the very essence of our being, is a mystery beyond human understanding. Please help us to have a greater appreciation of the gift of being created in your image and likeness. Help us to reverence that reality in our brothers and sisters, especially in the tiniest and most vulnerable among them. Help us to defend the sanctity of every human life from conception to natural death. Through the intercession of Our Lady, the ever immaculate, Blessed Virgin Mary, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Again, thank you for tuning into this episode of WCAT Radio's Inter Vitam et Mortem, Between Life and Death, discussion and interviews with a Catholic bioethicist. Today I have the joy of speaking with Ms. Carla Del Santo. Carla is pursuing a master's degree in theology from Sacred Heart Seminary in Wisconsin. She's a supervisor at a very busy bookstore and gift shop. And she is one of a growing number of adult children that have chosen to provide loving daily care for a parent. It is the role of parental caregiver, the bioethical and theological implications, including the relationship to the sanctity of human life with everyday acts of mercy, that I'd like to focus particular during today's interview. And with all that in mind, I'm delighted to welcome Ms. Carla Del Santo to WCAT Radio's Inter Vitam et Mortem. Carla, thank you so much for accepting my invitation to be a guest on this program. Could you tell the Inter Vitam et Mortem audience something about yourself?
Oh, yes. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Urlakis, for having me. I'm very flattered that you asked me to be on your show. So I am the youngest of 5 adult children, and my mother suffered a debilitating stroke in 2007. She's 83 years old, and there's 5 of us. 3 of us do most of the caregiving, but we don't want to put my mom in a nursing home, and we're all taking care of her on our own shifts. We have a caretaker that comes in faithfully during the day while I'm at work. I'm the only one living full-time with my mother, but my oldest brother takes her swimming a couple days a week. She is paralyzed on her left-hand side, and we all just do the rounds, and whatever we have to do to take care of her, we just do it. And it's been one of the most life-giving joys of my life, and I'm really happy to be here for my mother. I'm single. I've never been married, and I kid with my friends that even though I've never had children, I feel like my mother's becoming my daughter, which I think a lot of caregivers can attest to, as with their aging parents, because they have so many needs. So, that's just kind of what I do. I mean,
thank you. This is a huge issue in bioethics. This is a huge issue in Catholicism and society. I, too, was a caregiver for both of my parents before they passed. Looking at the statistics that are out there, the recent Boston College Center for Retirement Research conducted a study from 1995 to 2010 and surveyed 80,000 via interviews. So they conducted face-to-face interviews with 80,000 participants, and it indicated that 17% of adult children will at some point provide the basic care for a parent. And the National Alliance for Caregiving Network has estimated that more than 65 million people, approximately 29% of the U.S. population, provide care for a chronically ill, disabled, or aged family member on a day-to-day basis. The average is 20 hours a week, but there are more than 13% of caregivers who are providing 40 hours a week or more of in-home care for an aged parent or an infirm parent. So this is an issue when we're talking a third of the population. This is an issue that affects so many folks, and it's really hidden. I knew you for at least a year before I knew the tremendous extent to which you were caring for your mom. And I think when I was caring for my parents, I don't think many people knew who were not among my close circle of friends and family. The folks that just knew us on an acquaintance basis. I don't think they realized the extent to which that I was taking my dad for chemo and radiation and everything that was involved in that. And as you say, it's a choice, and it's a beautiful choice. Those moments I would not relinquish for anything. There is so much joy in being able to give that care. Yes, it's exhausting, but there's also a lot of hidden joy there too. So now you mentioned that you have brothers and sisters that also care for your mom. And that you've been doing this now for
about 13 years, since 2007.
Wow.
Yes, it's been a long time.
I've met your mom. She is a lovely lady.
Thank you.
And you give such tremendous care.
Thank you.
And her face just lights up when you're around.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, she is a sweetheart. There's no doubt about that.
How has this affected your faith life?
Well, I can tell you, Dr. Urlakis, before my mother's stroke, I always kid with people in my family that I was kind of, the Mary Tyler Moore of the family. I was single. I was really into my career. I was working in downtown Chicago. I made good money. It was beautiful. It was a great experience. But once my mom had her stroke in 2007, 2008 is when my life, especially when my secular career started crumbling. I was laid off. I had to sell my home. I was part of that whole bursted bubble of people that were losing their jobs, losing their homes. I had to sell it, but it didn't go into foreclosure, thankfully. But and then my mom had her stroke, and I had to make a choice if I wanted to continue working down in Illinois or if I wanted to stay in Wisconsin close to my mom and see what Wisconsin was going to see what path Wisconsin was going to have for me as far as working. And I've been a lifelong Catholic. I went to Catholic schools, and once I had to sell my home and I lost my job, it was all part of the formation for working for the church eventually, which I worked in the church in a couple of capacities. And, I sold my home. We sold my mother's home. We moved her into a small apartment. I'm living there with her now. And it's been the most amazing, life-giving experience. And, do I make as good of money as I used to? No. Do I even miss that secular career life? No. Yes, it's needed. I understand the world needs it, but I know that the Lord was putting me on a completely different trajectory for my life. And so I hope I'm answering your question, but
you are, and that's been one of the themes in the 20-some interviews that I've done. I always find it fascinating, and you answered it before I even had to ask the question.
Oh, okay.
But I find it remarkable and refreshing, and I know my guests enjoy hearing this process of discernment. When you closed your eyes at high school graduation, you did not envision that you would be caring for your mom and that this was the path that your life took.
Oh,
but
absolutely not.
You grasped on to what the Holy Spirit was asking of you, and you went where you were called. And those decisions weren't easy. Clearly, there was pain and suffering involved. You've got the dreams that you had. You have nailed it as you worked your way up the corporate ladder. And as you said, living the dream. I remember that corner office and having something very similar. And having it all, this is it. I remember the Oriental rug, the banker's lamp, corner office, sitting there saying, wow.
And you made it, right? Yeah.
You're right, exactly. Cool, check that off. That's off the list. Now what now? And then finding out that that's not where God had called me, and realizing that clutching onto that was not the path that I should be discerning.
Right.
And I've talked to folks about, being that potted rose bush, and how God picks you up and he shakes off the clods of dirt and transplants you into another pot so you can bloom.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have here, and clearly it involved pain and suffering. Seeing your mom go through that stroke, and the difficulties the deficits that she was left with, the difficulties communicating, the difficulties with the activities of daily living, brushing one's own teeth, combing one's hair, all of the things that she did for you in your youth, and now being responsible to provide those. It is a difficult mental switch, and I don't know how people do it without that wellspring of spirituality, and understanding that these are the corporal and spiritual works of mercy.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So as you're living the spiritual works of mercy, what do you find? We've talked about daily Mass before. Can you tell me what daily Mass means to both you and your mom in terms of your ability to bring her Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament?
Well, I can tell you, if I didn't have daily Mass, I would probably be, and don't get me wrong, I always tease people and I tell them I'm the crabbiest one in the family. But if I didn't have the Eucharist every day, I would really be a crab. So but and I am teasing. We all have.
I can't see you as crabby. I have never seen you as crabby.
Oh my gosh! Well, no, but honestly, internally, I think if I didn't have. Now, don't get me wrong. There are days that I can't make it to Mass. I try to go to Mass every day before work, but I'm pretty steady going. But I feel like the church is so close to me. The time is so convenient before I go to work. And my mom tells me how if she doesn't have the Eucharist every day, she misses it as well. And you just know, maybe you're not crabby with people, but inside, if you don't have that spiritual food, there's something missing. So I think just getting to Mass every day has been such a gift. I think that's what's really propelled me to want to stay interested and attentive, and I'm not necessarily motivated, but this is really a calling for me to take care of my mother at the capacity that I do, and I just think
this is a vocation. This is a vocation you've been given, but one that you've also chosen. Not at the moment it was thrust upon you, perhaps, but it is one that you have embraced and chosen every day.
Absolutely. Yes,
we talk about love being a choice. Love isn't an emotion.
Absolutely.
Love is a choice.
Absolutely.
And yes, there's joy that comes with it, but you choose to love and get up every day and perform the acts of mercy that you do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I absolutely do. And I was about 30 years old when my mom had her stroke, and now I'm 43. So, around 30, I thought I was going to get married and have children, and I never met the right guy, but this is all part of God's plan, and I feel like I'm just very fulfilled being a single person, doing this for my mom, and I really wouldn't have it any other way at this point in time. I can't even really put into words how, yes, it is sacrificial, but it's so life-giving taking care of someone that's in need. And I love all my friends that are married with children. I think they're beautiful. I think their families are beautiful. But it's kind of like a compare and despair thing. What they have with their lives are just completely, they give in a different way that I give. Right. And it's, both vocations are beautiful, but they're just different. And I can't see myself doing anything differently. And, if one of the companies that I used to work for in Chicago would call me tomorrow saying, hey, I've got this great offer for you, you're making 6 figures and blah, blah, I wouldn't, I've had to already turn that down. And I just couldn't see myself going back to any kind of secular career. I enjoy working for the church. I really enjoy taking care of my mom, and my mother's, I don't think I mentioned this, but she's been a widow since 1984. So she was 48 when my father passed away suddenly in a tragic accident, and she never remarried. And, I'm sure everyone will say this about their parents, but she's just such a sacrificial person. And I think, I say to her once in a while, Mom, do you realize you had 5 children? You gave birth to 5 people. I mean, do you know what a gift that is? And, and she kind of just laughs it off at me like it really wasn't that big of a deal. But I think, gosh, if we can just help you for everything that you've given us, it's just, we can never, I just feel like I can't repair what you've done for all of us. Yeah, I mean,
that is really beautiful. And you bring up another theme there, too, about that you are giving mercy, and part of it is an act of gratitude.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely it is.
And yet you look at how you were raised and the love that you were raised with. It makes it easy to give back.
Absolutely it does, yes.
She taught you how to give from the heart. She taught you how to give everything. And you're able to do, so many people, I was talking to somebody the other night who said, we cannot give what we do not have. And
right.
For so many of this generation, they've never had it. They have not been raised with that love. They have been raised in front of a TV, and it has not been given to them, so they don't have that internal wellspring with which to give it from. And you provide with your mom that lovely example of this intergenerational caregiving and love.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm trying my best, that's for sure.
Well, you're doing a great job. And for her to still, I know how difficult that caregiving is. My mom had Alzheimer's, and my dad died of a rare cancer, immunoblastic multiple myeloma, and cared for both of them. And I know how hard the day-to-day caregiving, the worrying.
Oh, yes, the worrying.
I think that's probably the biggest was the wanting to do everything right and being exhausted and realizing you had a discrete amount of time to do this and to do it well. There is no do-over.
No, right, exactly.
This is it.
But, I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, one thing I do want to say, because I cannot take credit for all this myself, I do come from a really nice family. There's 5 children in our family. We have a wonderful woman that comes in every day while I'm at work to help out with my mom. And then, as I mentioned, the other siblings help out too. But the caretaker that comes in during the day, she, her name is Ann, and we tease her. We're like, Ann, do you still want to do this for my mom? Do you still want to be her caretaker? I mean, don't you get sick of coming over here? Oh, no, this is a dream job for me. Now, she's married with 4 grown children of her own that are off in college. And for her, I feel like this is part of her calling as well. And, well, especially I got to mention, too, in our culture, and I think in the United States, it's not as common for the kids to have the mother or to have the parents live with the kids or vice versa when they're in.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I feel like people look at us cross-eyed because, I've had people tell me, why isn't your mom in a nursing home? She should be in a nursing home. And, but then I've had people from other countries say, oh, this is so beautiful. This is exactly what we do back home. The parents, we don't put the parents in a nursing home. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there might be a time where we might have to do that, but we're not pursuing that until we really, really have to. And, for 13 years, it's been working out just fine. But I do want to mention, though, my parents are from northern Italy. They came here, after World War II in the 50s. And, I've talked to them, just like even family that I have over in Italy, it's very common for the elderly to still live with them. They're slowly moving into nursing homes, but I just think no matter how beautiful the nursing home is, no matter how nice the furniture is, no matter how clean it is, and no matter how good the care you think they're getting is, and I know there are a lot of really good assisted living places and nursing homes, I just don't think there's nothing like having your family taking care of you. But I do know there's elderly couples that don't want their kids taking care of them. So there's always,
right.
I don't want to condone people that put their parents in nursing homes or assisted living facilities, because they can be wonderful, but I just don't think it's for everybody.
Right, and at this point, it's not for you. I've done both.
No.
Okay. I began taking care of my mom and my dad when my eldest son was a few weeks old. My mom had Alzheimer's, and she had it young. And her sister had Alzheimer's, and their mom had Alzheimer's. So we've got kind of a genetic footprint there. And she was young. She wasn't even 62 at that point.
Oh, wow.
And my dad had just clotted off everything in his belly, and he was very sick, close to death. He survived that. And I moved in with them with my newborn child while my husband was in his medical residency, and was running back and forth between their house, our house, trying to provide care. With my sister had come to help me too. And my mom was a runner with Alzheimer's. We could not keep her in the home. She would find a way out, and she would go wandering across Highway 33.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. She would get up in the middle of the night. She would be, it was very difficult. And it became clear at one point that it was not going to be safe to have her in the home for anybody. And so we looked for a place that had a Alzheimer's unit. And I remember my dad laying there thinking he only had a few months at that moment, and his tears welled up with his eyes welled up with tears, and he said, "In sickness and in health, in sickness and in health." And he kept repeating his wedding vows. And I knelt beside him and I said, "Dad, you will still take care of her. She will become your full-time job. You will be there every day." And he was, with a Culver shake, every single day.
Oh,
but these people will take care of the basic needs, and she will be in a locked unit where she's not going to be able to run and endanger her life on Highway 33 and the lives of motorists. And so that's what happened. And
wow.
My dad went every single day with a Culver shake, and my kids were raised. I remember my youngest 3 in a walker with wheels. I'm sitting here talking with my hands, and the guests can't see that I'm talking with my hands. Even the listeners can't see, but they, the typical baby walker with the wheels, they're wheeling all over the Alzheimer's unit at this particular facility. I would go at lunch and feed my mom and feed others and provide care that way. So for some, it becomes a necessity that there be a facility, but that facility doesn't mean that they have to give up the actual active caregiving. For others, they're able to maintain it at home. For my dad, after he was diagnosed with his cancer, he lived with us. And until the last 2 days, he was in a hospital awaiting an autologous stem cell transplant, a transplant of his own bone marrow, and he died before the procedure. But he was living with us, and I was providing care, round-the-clock care in our home.
That's beautiful.
So I've seen both sides of the joy of this, and I do understand that there are times that it is necessary for there to be a facility.
Absolutely.
And there can be good care, and that you can continue giving that one-on-one care, even in a facility. What you're doing is tremendous, and I'm so glad you're here on this show, because I think this is one of the greatest bioethical issues we face, and because it is so prevalent. There are a lot of emotional issues that come with caring for a parent. I know how difficult it is to realize that they were there for you, and you cannot rely on them in the same way you did in your youth, and that is a huge emotional hurdle. Have you had to deal with that?
Well, I remember when, in a way, so I was 30 when my mom had her stroke. And I remember, I was single, and I remember when it happened, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, we're really going to lose a major piece of, I don't want to minimize my mom to just a piece of history in our family, but my mom knows so much about the family and the ancestry, and her speech is impaired. And I remember thinking, we're losing a part of my mom. I mean, a part of the family. I mean, we weren't physically losing her completely, but we were losing a lot of her.
There's a mourning and a sense of grief that goes with that.
Oh, yes. Yes, and we all were grieving, all of us, because we knew she wasn't going to be the same. My mom is, prior to her stroke, she was a power walker. She was very active. She wasn't on a pill for anything until maybe 6 months prior to her stroke. That's when she started developing high blood pressure. So we always saw her as this really healthy, vibrant, wonderful conversationalist. She could tell, we all really enjoyed my mother's company, and we still do, even though it's different.
Sure.
She understands everything we're saying, but she has dysphagia, so she might have the right word in her mind, but the wrong word will come out. And so the conversations, aren't always as clear, but we know who she is, and we still love her, but, you asked me if my mom, her giving care to me, if that was kind of a loss. Was that, sorry?
Yes.
I knew my mom was such a good cook. I remember thinking we're never going to be able to taste her cooking again, but that was, I was already on my own at that point, and I really, I leaned on my mom more I just loved talking to her. I called her probably almost every day when I lived in Illinois. And I guess, that was one big loss for me, just not being able to call her up and say, hey, Mom, what do you think of this? Or I don't know what to do about this. And she was just such a wonderful example for all of us. Her whole life was, she's just one of those saintly moms that I'm sure your mom was just as saintly, Dr. Urlakis, but, just such a good salt-of-the-earth woman. And that's the thing, that I guess as far as the support and her taking care of me, just having that kind of relationship, because now the relationship is totally different. Like I said in the beginning, I feel like she's my daughter, and I have to keep an eye on her, and I got to, kind of reprimand her a little bit. And, she behaves, but, it's just.
It's a different relationship, and that is difficult. And for so many caregivers, I never had to cope with the issue of having to tell a parent that they weren't going to be able to drive.
Oh, yes, that's another
But
thing.
I did have to tell my dad he wasn't going to be able to go back to his home, at least not at that point. And I knew in my heart he was never going to go back to that home.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really, really rough.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was
that
rough for us.
Flip-flopping is a difficult thing to cope with.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think also, I don't know if you experienced this, but my mom was in complete, and she still is some days, in complete denial that she needs help. And she's tried to get up on her own without any assistance, and she's fallen a couple times. And I think she thinks in her mind, she's okay, and they just can't see themselves sometimes, and that gets a little frustrating. But it's like a complete role reversal.
Yes,
so
I do remember that in particular with my mom during Alzheimer's when I was with her. And for her and folks with Alzheimer's, dementia, often others don't realize that their depth perception changes as well.
Oh, yes.
So for her, rugs would look like holes in the wall or in the floor. Getting into a bathtub can be terrifying because they see it as an abyss. So all of those things, her whole environment was changing, and I was trying to stay ahead of it and trying to view things as she did. And so many of her behaviors were unsafe. She would get up in the middle of the night and turn the stove on and would not realize that she had just eaten and want to make herself another meal. And it was a very interesting and difficult time, but it was also a beautiful time. I know the conversations. I had those wonderful conversations with my dad. He was my mental sparring partner. He was a very rare and gentle, good man. And as the cancer was consuming him and watching him disappear day by day, that was very difficult to know that I was losing ever so quickly the person that I had relied on my whole life, my strength, my rock. And yet to be able to be honored to be a part of that and be with him. I remember shortly before he died, he was upstairs in what is now my daughter's room, and he was laying there in bed, and he was awake, and I walked in, and I could tell that he had been very emotional, that he was crying. And I grasped his hand, and I said, Dad, what's going on? And he said, well, I'm laying here, and I know to get to heaven, you have to forgive. And I said, you do? And he said, I'm going through everybody that I want to make sure I've forgiven, and anybody, and if I need to ask forgiveness. And I said, Dad, I cannot imagine that you need to ask forgiveness of anybody. And he said, well, I was in World War II. He had left high school as a junior in high school, part of that greatest generation, to join the Navy. And he said, I'm laying here, and I'm trying to forgive, and as hard as I'm trying, I can't forgive Hitler.
Wow.
And that was my reaction, too. I'm fighting back the tears, and I grasped his hand, and I said, what is impossible for man is possible with God. You don't have to forgive. You've got to give your assent to God that you're trying, and that's all he's requiring of you. And he knows you're trying. Be at peace and just go on. It's okay.
No, it's beautiful.
But I remember walking out of that room and thinking, I cannot imagine that I would have the grace to do what that man in there is doing.
Yes.
And if I had not been his caregiver, I would never have seen that and would never have had that lesson. That is more profound than anything I've ever found in textbooks, right there.
Oh, yes. Yes, I believe it. That's beautiful.
We've talked before, you and I, about, this is WCAT Radio is a arm of Holy Apostles College and Seminary. And as a seminary, we have men in formation. We have seminarians. We have a religious that come to Holy Apostles in Connecticut, and many who are online doing the online programs from all over the world. What in particular regarding caregiving, what advice would you have for men in formation, for their formators, for their rectors? How can they be better prepared to deal with the needs of adult caregivers when they look out at their congregation? If the statistics that we saw earlier bear out for what they're seeing in the pews, 29% of them are caregiving for someone. And 17% of the folks that they're seeing in your age range are caring for an adult parent. This is huge.
That
in
is
what
huge.
way can they be better equipped to deal with or be supportive to, minister to the needs of adult caregivers of parents?
Well, just with my own experience, I think making daily Mass or having a daily Mass that's convenient for people, whether it be at 6:30 or 7 in the morning or late at night. There was a parish that I worked for, and they had a 7 o'clock daily Mass in the evening. But make it convenient for people that really want to go to Mass, and for caretakers that want to bring communion to their parents that they're taking care of. I just think that's that is such a gift in itself, just to make that daily Mass time at a convenient time. And also, I know we talked a little bit about this before we got on air, but in the beginning when my mom had her stroke, our family, I mean, talk about lions and lambs, sheep and goats. I mean, our family was our siblings were just at a war with each other over her care, what should we do? And I think when something this traumatic happens in the family, or when you're faced with, where do we put mom, where do we put dad, how do we deal with this, just to be a listening ear for people going through this, because it is really stressful. And over time, everything's fine between, my siblings and I, where we all get along well. But in the beginning, everyone is so stressed, and they all have their opinions, and you don't know what to do, and you try things, and they might not work. But I think just listening to these people, and I don't think a priest, I don't know. I mean, maybe a priest might have a good suggestion, but even if they don't, just being the unbiased person outside of the family that will be willing to listen, which, might be kind of stressful.
That is huge. It is.
Huge.
As we mentioned earlier, there's a grieving process here. When you get to this point with a parent, you're grieving the loss of who they were. And whether it's physical limitations after a stroke, they're not going to be able to drive. They're not going to be able to cook a meal. They're not going to be able to walk safely. You grieve what they've lost, because it acutely hurts you to see the condition they're in, too. But it's the uncertainty, it's the wanting to do the best for them. And let's face it, in the day-to-day moment, you're exhausted, too, at those moments.
Oh, yes.
You've been running back and forth to the hospital or to the rehab facility as you're trying to figure out just what's going to happen. And no one's making good decisions. Everybody's cranky. Everybody's ornery. Everybody's scared. And to have a spiritual advisor who is able to step in and to help, bring the sacrament, that's the other thing. I remember with my mom, I had asked a particular parish priest many times if he would anoint her. And his response was, she has Alzheimer's, she doesn't know whether she's going to be anointed or not, it really doesn't make any difference. That wasn't the best answer. I tried for several months, and he refused to go. I mentioned this to another priest who was there that afternoon. That brought such healing, and he continued to come. He continued to come and would anoint her frequently. And that anointing is huge. It's huge for the family, the spiritual benefits of receiving the sacrament of the sick and having it ripple out for the person, the afflicted person who is chronically ill or has just had a life-changing injury. But it also ripples through the whole family. So in our case, that was something that if can be emphasized for those who are in seminary, it would be huge.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What about for friends? In what way are your extended circle of friends, how do they support you?
Yeah, I have a group of friends that I went to grade school with, and then we went to high school together, and some of us even went to college together. And throughout my life, I accumulated friends just from various places I worked or whatever circumstances. And the ones that I'm closest to, they know what's going on, and they know I say no to a lot of things they invite me to because I just can't. And they know I'm more comfortable, if they want to meet me for coffee or something and I'm not trying to be selfish, but I really want to stay within like a 3-mile radius of where I live. And I don't do that to be selfish, but they know I'm always on call with my mom, even though we can leave her alone for, an hour or two. but I got to get back, and I don't want to be too far. And sometimes if I am, and, I'll have another sibling come in and check on her, they see how nervous I get, and they're really nice about me saying no. And they know I'm not trying to be rude, but I can't make it to every social engagement. I don't really want to, because I really want to be home with my mom cooking, or I don't know, watching a movie with her, or doing her exercises or her speech therapy. It's like, home is where the heart is, and I have this duty. I feel like it's probably no different than a mother with their child. You would never leave your child unattended for, a length of time that wouldn't be acceptable. So, my friends have been really...
Does it help when a friend drops off a meal?
Well, yes, it does. Now, in the beginning, everyone wanted to drop off meals, kind of like when there's a death in the family. Everyone wants to cook for you. And that was wonderful. But now my sister and I do most of the cooking. My mom's sister that lives not too far from us, she's about, 3 miles west of where we live, she comes in and she will bring something for my mom to eat. But it is helpful for all of us that like to cook, that want to cook, that, don't feel like it's a burden to do something like that. I'll take all the help I can get. But I really love to cook. So, but it is helpful. But my friends don't do that as much. But I will say what is really helpful with my friends, when they come to visit, my mom's face just lights up, because some of them she's known since they were little girls.
Sure.
And I think as much as my mom says she loved living with me, I think she likes to see new faces here. So, it's just nice to have people to come visit. And I also think when there's someone sick in the family, especially if it's for a prolonged period of time, it's so easy to forget about those people. And I know people get busy, but if you can just go visit your aunt that has Alzheimer's, who cares if she doesn't remember who you are anymore? You know who she is. And, it's just, it's just nice to at least visit, even if it's for 20 minutes. And it's good for the person, too, that goes and visits, I think, too.
It is. Oh, I think it is. I think it's tremendously beneficial both ways.
Oh, yes.
And if they're in a facility, it helps too, because then it makes them so much more real to the folks who are giving care on a day-to-day basis. My mom's room, we put up all these wedding pictures and all sorts of things so that they saw her throughout her life, and her life became very real to them. And we were there every day, so they got to know us too on a very different level. We talked a little bit about prayer. How do you pray with your mom? Do you pray the rosary with her? How do you two keep that spiritual bond and the Holy Spirit there alive, visible in your home with the two of you?
Okay. Oh, sure. So, my day usually starts out, I go to Mass, I bring communion to her, I give her communion. We always say our prayers to St. Joseph and St. Jude. My mom had a tremendous devotion to St. Jude, so we keep those prayers up. And then we do the rosary. I pray the rosary faithfully. She prays with the caretaker. When the caretaker comes in, they pray the rosary every day when they're in, or when she comes in. And so that's pretty much what we do. But I do like to read to my mom because of her stroke, she's lost her ability to read and write. And she was an avid reader before, her stroke, unfortunately. So I do like to read. If it's something that I think she might be interested in, a spiritual book that I'm reading, I'll read a little bit to her. But we do also watch a lot of good Catholic movies I'll put in for her. But as far as prayer, it's pretty simple. It's communion, the rosary, and then our prayers to St. Jude and St. Joseph.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You mentioned reading. Now, I know that you're a busy graduate student, that you're in the middle of a master's program that's pretty demanding. How do you juggle everything? How do you juggle writing your papers and going to class and doing your exams and everything else that you need to do?
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question. I'm still trying to figure out how am I going to maneuver through this semester. So right now I'm at Sacred Heart School of Theology and Seminary, and this is their second year for their Cor Unum program, and Cor Unum means one heart, and it's a master's in theology. It's a systemic theology degree that's geared towards returning students like myself. It's one night a week on Monday evenings from about 6 to 9, and then one Saturday a month we meet for studies and more spiritual formation. And the degree, when I'm gone on Monday nights, my brother comes in and he'll stay with my mom until I come home. But I put in a good, 10, sometimes to 15 hours a week just for the reading and the papers. But I just do it. If I have to stay up until midnight to do the reading, or get up really early to do the reading and do my papers, I just somehow do it. I just completed my first year. And
congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It went by so fast. I think I might have mentioned it's a group of 12 of us that are going through this program, and none of us want it to end. Some of us about 8 of us from the program are going to the Holy Land this month as part of the program. Yes, it will be fabulous. I'm a little nervous, but it's exciting at the same time. So that's part of the program, and the whole premise of the program is healing a fractured world, and they really want us to, we all feel very called to be part of this program. The professors are wonderful, very orthodox in their teaching, and they want us, to learn more about Jesus and the church in hopes to do something for the church, working at some capacity and wherever we feel called. And it's just been a really beautiful learning experience, and I'm really proud to be part of the program.
As exhausted as you are with everything that you're doing,
yes.
As a caregiver, if you were to give advice to potential caregivers, folks who are suddenly in the middle of trying to decide, can I do this? How important is it to you to have your own life as well, to be able to maintain? Could you speak to that?
Yes. Well, like I said, my friends are wonderful. They haven't forgotten about me completely. I do keep in touch with them. I talk to them. I have friends that live really close to where I live, and I reach out to them, even if that just means stopping by one of my friends that I grew up with. She's married with children, and I'll just come in on my day off and have a quick cup of coffee with her, and we'll just talk. And I do make a point to try and get out when I can, but honestly, people might think I'm living like a cloistered person right now, and maybe I sort of am, but I really enjoy my life, and I feel like it's so full that I don't really need a lot of outside things to make me feel happy, to keep me content. I love my friends. I talk to them on the phone. I'll see them every couple of weeks. But as far as, I hate to say, if they didn't seek me out as much, I don't know if I would be, seeking them out to get me out.
Sure.
I think they want to get me out. I often kid with them, and I say, you almost have to dynamite me out of the apartment just to get me out. And they know that. But I'm so glad when I do go. And, family
Do you
functions.
think you are a better caregiver? Do you think you are a better caregiver because you take the time to go and pursue the masters and have continued to have some interests that keep you going on the outside too? Do you think you're able to bring more to your mom, that your internal battery gets recharged?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, now that we're talking about this, I just realized I do an upholstery class every Tuesday evening, and I've been doing it.
You're an upholsterer.
Yes.
You recover furniture. Oh goodness,
Yes.
I didn't realize this was one of your talents.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it a talent, but for the past year and a half, my mom used to do upholstery just on the side. My mom was a wonderful sewer, and she's just one of those ladies that could sew anything. I'm still learning, but for the past year and a half, I did an upholstery class every Tuesday, and it's all of these older retired ladies that have been doing it for years. I did a couch and a chair, and now I'm doing an ottoman, and that's been a really good social outlet. So I think,
sure.
It all, gosh, I think having that little outlet, keeping in touch with my friends, doing this master's program, I still have a life.
Exactly.
I still have a life. I mean, yes.
That's what I wanted to be able to point out for those who are looking at this and are frightened, not sure that afraid that they will lose themselves if they care to this level. And I think in those I've interviewed and in my own experience, you find that the opposite is true. You give so much of yourself, but you find yourself in the giving to others.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it better. Like I mentioned, when I was living my secular life, and I mean, I'm still living a secular life, but when I had more of a secular career and I was working down in Illinois, I never would have thought. If you would have told me 15 years ago that that I would be working for the church, I never would have believed you. But I just think, as time goes on and you change, and it's all part of, your discernment internally and what God has in store for you. And all of these things, the upholstery, working on my master's in theology, I've even taken little classes on digital photography since my mom's stroke. I mean, I still have interest. And even though, yes, it is a sacrifice to take care of my mom, and yes, am I giving up a lot of personal time on my own? Absolutely, but so much in return has come my way. I can't even begin to tell you. I mean, I've been given so much back. And do I have the salary that I used to make? No. Do I even miss that? No, but it's the Lord finds a way to provide everything, I think, that you need, as long as you really trust Him. And
it's following that pilgrimage path that has been laid out for us. It is.
Absolutely.
It's a pilgrimage,
yes.
And
it is a pilgrimage.
And so often you're just taking one step at a time. But I wanted to highlight just how full this life is, how beautiful this life is. We talk about the generous single life, people discerning, yes. Do I wish to be married? Do I wish to have a religious vocation? Do I wish to have the generous single life? And you are like the poster child for the generous single life. I keep telling folks when they say, who's an example of the generous single life? And with everything that you do and what you give back, both in terms professionally, theologically, in your academic work, and on a personal one-to-one level with your mom, and the witness you bear to the mercy of God in everything you do, seeing in her the image of God, that dignity, and showing that to the rest of the world with what you do. When we talk about bioethical issues, so often we're talking about the huge issues. It's abortion, it's euthanasia, it's stem cell, it's all of these things, but those are not things that most people are encountering on a day-to-day basis. The bioethical issues that people are encountering are how do I give mercy in the day-to-day moment and recognize the sanctity of the life that's ahead of me. It's the mundane. And it's that collection of mundane that builds up to the bigger bioethical issues that seem to, reach the headlines and the hearts. But what you're doing is so very important. And looking at the statistics, there's a whole lot of other people who are doing it too.
Yes.
Well, Carla, I think we're like at the end of our hour, believe it or not.
So fast. Yes.
But I wanted to thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Oh, my gosh, thank you for having me on the show. But could I just say one last thing for people that are maybe on the brink of deciding if they can bring, their parent into their home, or if they're deciding if, this could be something I could do?
Oh, please do.
Okay. I say just give it a try. Give it a try. You never know until you try, and you might really, really enjoy it. And, even if your siblings are going to drive you crazy at first, I just say just giving it a try shows that your parents know you care, you know you gave it a good chance, and you just never know until you do it.
That's an excellent point. The alternatives will always be there.
Right.
You will be able to find, and it may mean that you find the best possible other living situation, home, whatever, later. But in the meantime, give it a try.
Yes, give it a try. It's so worth it.
See what you are capable of. I'm talking to another individual right now and advising them that God doesn't rush you to make rush decisions. Give it a try. If it is a decision that you are being forced to make or feel like you have to make, it's not coming from God. Take the time to make the decision slowly. And if that means let's give this a try and see what we can do. If you can't, then you go on from there and figure out what plan B is. But for now, jump in and give it a try. I love that. That's a great piece of advice, Carla.
Have
you found that you are capable of far more than you ever would have imagined that you could have done?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question to ask, and I want to say yes. I really do. I just looking back on my life, even moving to a different city. I have my master's in business administration. I'm working on my second master. I mean, I never thought I would be even like just being here for my mother every day. I feel like there's still more to come, but I feel like I really accomplished a lot, and who knows if I'll ever even do anything with this degree. I'm doing it more for my personal formation, but just the fact that I'm chipping away at it and I'm making it work, and I'm enjoying myself along the way. I don't want to sound conceited that I'm pleased with myself, but I do feel a sense of accomplishment. There's no doubt about that.
It is a satisfying life that you're leading.
It absolutely is. It's something that the world can never do.
And clearly you see the hand of God in it. You feel His presence there. You receive Him every morning in the Holy Eucharist, and you have the grace to be able to bring Him to your mom.
Absolutely.
That's enormous.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, I always feel like it's a gift to take care of her. And, she was God's gift to me. I hope I'm God's gift to her. And I don't think there's going to be any regrets when she passes away.
That's important to hear. That is very important to hear. Carla, thank you for giving us a window into your world today. And
thank you.
Thank you for bearing witness to Christ with your life and His image in you and His image in your mom and in all of us. And with that, I just want to say a quick glory be, because I think we are truly out of time. So glory be to the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be, unto the ages of ages. Amen. And this is Dr. Marianne Urlakis and Miss Carlo DeSanto for Inter Vitam et Mortem, Between Life and Death, interviews and discussion with the Catholic bioethicist on WCAT Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in.
We hope you enjoyed the program and will join us back for another show on WCAT Radio. This is Sebastian Mahfood. Good day.